Coughlan Studios.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sara Jones. For this episode, I got to hang out with Portland comic Jeremiah Coughlan. Jeremiah Coughlan is a comedian who physically resembles what would happen if Chris Farley ate Bob Ross. His stage presence embodies some of the same traits. He is an imperfect mix of chaos and control. In what can seem paradoxical, Jeremiah carries a calm and contented demeanor into his high energy and surprisingly athletic stage performances, although he still hasn't quite figured out how to complete a painting in 30 minutes. With his candid, conversational brand of self-deprecating humor, Jeremiah has become a regular performer at clubs all over the Northwest, including Helium Comedy Club. He has been featured on Audible's comedy series Sounds Like America and performed all over the country and internationally at festivals including the Idaho Laugh Festival, the SF Sketch Fest, Crom Comedy Festival, the Big Pine Comedy Festival, the North Carolina Comedy Fest, the Savage Henry Comedy Festival, and the 10,000 Laughs Comedy Festival, where he was nominated as Best of the Fest by the festival's organizers. Jeremiah and I got to explore a part of the Shanghai Tunnels. This was a much anticipated episode. Jeremiah even used to run a tour through the tunnels at one time and has some personal anecdotes to share from that experience. Here's the episode. I hope you love it. All right, here we go. We're headed downstairs. So, for listeners, we are in Harvey's Comedy Club.
Harvey's Comedy Club, the infamous.
The infamous Harvey's Comedy Club. And we are walking down the stairs. There's stone walls, and it's already kind of creepy down here. And we are in a part of the Shanghai Tunnels. Is that right?
Yes. So, all of this South Waterfront, or not South Waterfront, but all of this downtown area, Old Town, technically, all of these basements, because that's what they really are, is basements.
Okay, we'll get into that.
Are part of what people consider to be the Shanghai Tunnels.
Are these things that they found in the basements down here?
Yes. So there's artifacts. So they do like tours and stuff down here. A lot of these basements were like gambling halls or opium dens or brothels. There's a lot of stuff going on down here. I don't even know what that thing is.
It's an early switchboard from the Bar Hotel, 1892.
There you go. It looks like a pachinko game. That's what it looks like.
Kind of, actually.
Yeah. And so I guess they're building out down here for something or other. I'm not exactly sure.
It's going to be a brothel down here.
Yeah,
they're trying to revamp.
They're looking to get some sex trafficking going on, you know, reestablish the old ways.
It's just kind of a tradition in Portland that we want to keep alive.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So a lot of this stuff, you can tell it's been like retrofitted for seismic stuff, but everywhere in Portland has a basement. So what they did is they connected a lot of these basements. So you used to be able to there was like a network, right? So you could go from one end of the waterfront, basically Old Town, what's now Old Town Chinatown, from one end to the other in these basements. And there were tunnels that connected them. And they used the tunnels for various things.
Can we go, like, how far can we go in the tunnels right here?
So all the ones that went under the streets, they filled in.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Yeah, because they didn't want the streets to fall in. So, like, I don't know. Let's see. No way, not today.
Nuh-uh. That's a sign we just read. It just says, no way, not today. So this is all stone walling. I mean, this looks like it's a little newer here. It's like more flat stone. It was more crumbly stone when we first came down here that looked older. Oh, there's wrapped Christmas presents down there.
Yeah, Christmas trees. Wow.
Poinsettias. Huh. This is like being in my mom's attic.
Some old fryer baskets, a lot of kitchen equipment.
Yeah.
So this is all stuff from the club. I don't know, let's see what's over here. This is just...
Now we're walking through a tiny little closed-in spot. If you were claustrophobic, you'd fucking hate it. But there's insulation all around us, so I bet the sound quality is just fantastic.
There is, yeah. Well, and so like you can see that old stone. So that's the old...
I don't know if that's
like
what
foundation
it's called, stoning.
stuff. No, stone masonry work, I think is what we'd call it.
Stone masonry?
You know,
you see that stoning down there. Like,
my house is made of wooding, and the basement is stoning.
This is some good wooding you got going on over here.
Exactly.
Man, if I had $1.
Wow. We're going to leave that one alone.
Sure.
And I got cobwebs on me now.
Good. So that's kind of a creepy little spot in there.
That is a creepy little spot. There's a lot of... The whole thing's pretty creepy.
It is, yeah.
It's a creepy old basement.
Well,
so,
if we find... So a lot of times what I do on the show is I'll kind of find the creepiest spot to sit and or at least to hang out. And we'll sit. We're climbing over a pipe right now. This is a creepy little... Oh, this is where we started.
Yes and no,
Look at this chair is just facing the wall.
That is kind of weird.
That's really creepy.
Probably.
I'm going to take a picture of that. That's very, like, Blair Witch
There's a
style.
door.
Creepy. Oh, fuck, yeah. Hang on. I want to walk through that door with you. Okay. What's in
It's like
there?
an inspirational song.
I want to walk
Locked.
through that door with you. Knock in. That's polite.
Hello. Oh, the guy did say that there's like a plate with some candles on it that that's supposed to be like good vibes for the
What?
spirit people. Let's see if we can... I forgot
You're
about
supposed to light it when you come down here?
that. I think so.
So...
We forgot.
Well, I mean, hey. You don't believe in ghosts,
So far,
is that
so
right?
good. No, I don't.
Okay, so...
I mean, I believe
Would
in
you
a
like-
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I believe in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And...
What's in here? Did we already go in here?
no.
Have you been in here?
No. Have you?
This is, we have to describe what we're seeing for listeners.
Yeah, we're not doing a very good job.
We're not, but we just walked into this really creepy little, this is our spot, Jeremiah.
Yeah, so this is hella creepy.
This is it, right in here. All right.
So
I'm
this
going
would
to take
be...
a picture of this. Will you put a flashlight on it? This is exactly where we want to be. So there is a little, very short archway. It's probably about, 6 feet tall?
Barely. Not even.
Yeah, and it's made of brick. Oh my God, look, there's like little cages in there. This is exactly where we want to be.
Something's touching me.
There's something touching you?
No, I'm good. Just kidding.
Yeah.
My watch keeps going off.
Is this perfect or what?
It's pretty, so there's brick.
So
and
since you don't believe in the ghosts, do you want to just not light the candles and provoke them?
I'm not trying to provoke anything. So
Ooh,
like this would be a
look.
good example of what the tunnel
It's
system would have
closed
been. Yeah. So this would go to the other basement.
There's another chair facing the wall here.
Okay, take it easy. What is that? What is that on the ground
I
there?
don't know.
That's a
But
piece
wait,
of clothing?
will you flash the flashlight on the chair? Because I want to take it. No, make it so that. Oh my God, there's a skeleton in there.
Wow, that got you, didn't it?
I love it. No, I want to take a picture of this chair facing the wall, just like that other one.
So your
That's
foot?
so weird.
Careful.
Yeah.
You got
Isn't that weird?
Well, yeah. That's pretty. Now you're just trying, okay?
No, I'm not. I mean, I just think I'm excited though. What's
So-
in here?
Here's another arch and a gate.
Yeah.
Look at that old
What is that? If you are
reading this, it's too late.
Oh, so they kind of set this up like a haunted house. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, there was a skeleton in there.
Right. For listeners, it wasn't a real skeleton.
You're walking awfully close to me, Sarah. Are you getting freaky? Are you afraid? Not that kind of freaky, weirdo. Okay, and then all of the haunted invoices, obviously. Banker's boxes. So there's like a hole in the wall. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is all the old basement stuff. This is like, so this would have been another pathway that would have gone to the other side.
But they blocked it all off?
Yeah, they just filled it all in with concrete because they didn't want the streets to fall in.
Yeah, that seems like it's a reasonable.
So then...
This is pitch black in here. So
I'm actually pretty glad we brought the flashlights, right?
Yeah, me too. So for listeners, yeah, we are down walking through the Shanghai Tunnels. You can see how old the walls are because they're all really, really old stoning and bricking.
Yeah, it's just mortar. It's like bricks, like just giant slabs of rock with cement in between them. And there's a lot of brickwork.
Piping.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff's all really old.
It's so, look, they're trying to build something down here because look, this says B on it.
Well, that's an elevator, Dingo.
Yeah, is it a real one?
Yeah, I guess. What makes an elevator real or not?
If you believe in it.
Yeah, push the button. See you. To hell. What does it say?
Make sure the switch is pointed downward before leaving.
Okay, well, push the button. See
it only goes up. It doesn't go down to hell.
Ding. All right, so we're pretty deep in here now. And then that is back the other way.
So this is more like they've clearly, yeah, that's a real elevator.
Yep.
It's not as exciting. They've been, trying to build this out down here. It looks like they made a little bit of a haunted house in the corner of it. Mm-hmm. But...
Yeah, I definitely know. Watch your head there. Yeah. I definitely know they do tours and stuff down here.
Like, look at these old gates are kind of cool.
Yeah.
Try to take pictures to put on the Instagram.
There you go.
But yeah, so I say we can find a cool spot down here to just kind of hang out, and I'll read you my research and my stories, and we can kind of just talk about it if that sounds good to you.
It's like a dock plate.
Like a what?
Like something you'd put over like a gap in a dock so you could back up to it.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
This looks like you used to put wine in here or something.
I think it's a furnace.
Oh, it's a furnace?
Yeah.
I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah. Just because it has holes in it.
You could put your wine in here, probably.
Yeah. It's got horizontal holes in it. I bet you it's a wine cellar. Yeah. Never mind the charcoal and the soot all over it.
Well, you gotta get like good and toasty wine. Nice hot glass of wine.
I like my Chardonnay toasty.
They like put all these lights through here. Like they must have.
Yeah, so that's the old. Like there used to be. These aren't them really, but there used to be a lot of old. What was it called? Like knob and tube, kind of wiring. So like a lot of the old style, where it was just like. You'd see like a thing on the wall, and then the wiring would like run.
Yeah.
I don't know if they probably tore it all out of here. Some of the other basements I've been in have a lot of the old electrical wiring left over. That's kind of cool to look at.
I don't know why, but I think it's so weird that chair is just sitting there by itself facing the wall, and the one upstairs or around the corner, wherever we were. It's kind of a maze down here.
Right, we're still on the same level though.
Oh.
We didn't get in the elevator.
Okay. But the one on the other side is doing the same thing. It's just a chair facing the wall. That's kind of weird.
What do you got here? Bowl of food?
Oh. Yeah, what is this?
Oh, that might be the...
Is that the candle we're supposed to light or something?
Looks like it's incense and oranges.
And sugar?
Sugar.
How are there not ants, like, completely... infesting this area?
The ghosts eat the ants.
The ghosts eat, that's their protein.
Watch your head on that.
Or the ants know better. Because look this is just a little...
Yeah, so that would have gone through to the other side too.
So people actually light these?
I don't think so. It doesn't look like they've ever been lit.
There's one on there. This one is like burnt down a little bit.
All right. You got a lighter? You want to fire it up?
I mean, upstairs I have one, but not down here.
I think we'll be all right.
Yeah. Plus, I kind of like the idea of provoking the ghosts since you don't believe in them.
Do you want to go in this fridge? 37 kegs of beer.
Spooky.
So we didn't find where the wine was, but we found where the beer was.
That's less important. Well...
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Probably away from that air conditioning unit.
Yeah, you don't want to be around. I think probably somewhere in here, though, because this is really creepy to me.
It is pretty creepy.
Maybe down in here is a good spot. Do you mind about getting your shorts muddy?
My what?
Your shorts?
Well, you want to sit on the floor?
Well, or
I'm going to go get
stand.
that creepy chair.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, I don't think that's
doesn't
going
open.
to... Is it locked?
Probably on the other side. Yeah, there's a lock. There's like a padlock on it. No, that's nothing.
That's nothing. Yeah, let's get some chairs.
Yeah, we can get both of those creepy chairs.
I don't know if we want to disturb them though.
Disturb who? You don't believe in them.
I said them.
Well, yeah, it's right next
By
to that.
them, I mean the chairs.
Oh. The chairs don't like that very much.
Who disturbs my chair?
I'm going to grab that other chair over here. Ow.
Careful. You got it?
Yeah.
You sure? Here,
Yeah.
give me that.
I'm very girly, sorry.
You're good.
All right. Where are we going? Spooky and good sound quality.
That's right.
I mean, we could sit in that tiny little insulated room.
We're going right here.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, this is a good spot. And then if we see any ghosts, we'll see them probably right there.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of ghosts.
Plenty
right
of opportunities for
Something's touching me again.
So I'll take one more picture. So listeners, we decided on a spot and we are in this basement area of the Shanghai Tunnels, which I guess is redundant because the whole thing is a basement.
Yeah.
But we're sitting right next to this exposed brick with an archway. Wait, there's two archways right on either side of us.
Mm-hmm.
All exposed brick. And then right next to us is a little fence that's locked. And on the other side of it, just more archways and brick and basement stuff. Okay. Basement stuff. All right, so we are in the haunted Shanghai Tunnels. I am with comedian Jeremiah Coughlan. All right, so the Shanghai Tunnel... Is that the pipe above us? Maybe it's done now. There's going to be a lot of banging and walking around. That's just people upstairs. That's not ghosts. Probably.
Mostly.
So the Shanghai Tunnels are a group of connected passageways underground in Portland, Oregon. The tunnels are mainly underneath the Old Town Chinatown area and are connected to the business section. They connect the basements of many hotels and taverns on the Willamette River. But like we just talked about before, a lot of those connections are closed up with concrete so that the streets above them didn't fall through. Is that right?
Yeah. There's not really anything that goes from one place to the other. Also, just for security purposes, if you own a business,
right.
In this day and age, you don't want the next business over to be able to come into your basement.
Right. Exactly. So that makes sense. So this is because the the tunnels were originally meant to help move goods from ships docked at the Willamette to businesses. There are rumors of secret passageways in the tunnels underground that date back to the 19th century newspapers claiming organized crime made use of these secret tunnels. Obviously, the tunnels exist, and Shanghaiing was a real practice that was practiced in Portland. However,
Yes and no.
controversies... Huh?
Yes and no.
Yeah. So for listeners, Jeremiah used to run the
Like
tours,
the Haunted
right?
Portland tour.
The
Yeah.
haunted, yeah. So he has a lot more background info, and this is the cursory research that I've done at my free time, downtime at work. But so yeah, correct me wherever I'm wrong. But I said, however, controversies abound regarding the rumors and stories of the Shanghai Tunnels. Shanghaiing was a practice, also sometimes called crimping, where people could be kidnapped and forced to work on ships as sailors. Shanghaiing was practiced largely in London and Liverpool in England. In the United States, crimping was popular in San Francisco, Portland, Astoria, Seattle, and Port Townsend. The reason it became so popular was because of a shortage of labor on ships. Boarding masters could often Shanghai a sailor by somehow rendering him unconscious and forging his signature on the ship's paperwork. Boarding masters were paid by the body in what was often referred to as blood money.
Blood money.
That's what I consider my paycheck.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks.
That's good.
Phlebotomist joke. Thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you. It's believed that these tunnels were used to help boarding masters Shanghai sailors in the early 1900s, hence the name Shanghai Tunnels. Portland, Oregon, known today as the City of Roses, even once horrifyingly earned the title of Shanghai Capital of the World. Portland was once home to a very different kind of lifestyle. Portland was once a city filled with saloons, bordellos, and boarding houses that catered to those looking for a seedier kind of relaxation after a long day or weeks of hard work. Sounds like they're having a long day of hard work upstairs, actually.
There's a lot of noises.
There's noises down
There's
here.
a lot of noises. Right on cue.
Yeah. So while young men came to Portland for a wild and darker nightlife of their dreams, many suddenly found themselves living a nightmare.
Da, da, da.
Unsuspecting men would be captured in a variety of different ways. Some sources even indicate that women were captured in similar ways just to be sold into prostitution or murdered if they were pregnant. Many of them would be drugged and dragged unconscious through the Portland Underground. Many would be getting drunk in a tavern just to find themselves falling through a cleverly placed trapdoor and landing in the tunnels. All of them waking hours later to find themselves already on a ship out into the Pacific Ocean. Often it took as many as 6 years for these men to find their way back home to Portland. At one time, at least 1,500 people per year were said to have been shanghaied out of Portland. By 1941, many of the practices of human trafficking utilizing these tunnels became less profitable than the risk, and the tunnels were subsequently padlocked. These tunnels were closed off to the public for many years until the haunted tours began. These tunnels are rumored to be haunted and have been the site of very popular Shanghai Tunnels tours in Portland for years, starting in the 70s. The site has even been visited by Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures. The Northwest Paranormal Investigations is... What?
No. Just...
Are we going to talk about it after?
Dildo Baggins?
What?
Zach Baggins.
You call him Dildo Baggins?
Yeah, what a douche.
Is
I
he-
mean, of all the
Is
people...
he the guy who does Ghost Adventures?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
the,
I've seen the
spiky hair.
show.
Hey, we're standing in one
Yeah.
of the Shanghai Tunnels.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I know where he was. Like, it's like up the block, but it's like, well, down. It's like he was in Hobos.
Oh, under Hobos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, he's like, we're standing. Basically, if like what we said right now was we were in a tunnel, it's like, I just don't. You'll hear me say basement a lot.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if there's floorboards above you, you're not in a tunnel.
No, right,
You're
exactly.
in a basement,
yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just the whole hype of, like, these tunnels, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
No, I agree with you. And the thing that I don't like about Ghost Adventures, and to be fair, I've only seen, like, snippets of the show.
Oh.
But what I don't like about it, or any shows like that, are just how gimmicky they are and how it's, like, they're really just trying to, like, bullshit people.
Right.
Like, that's all it really is.
Yeah.
So that's not the point of what we're doing here.
Sure.
We're telling the urban legends and the ghost stories of these places. I do believe in ghosts. I don't expect to have a haunted experience anywhere that I go.
Sure.
You know? So that's not... And for some comics, like for you, you're like absolutely on board. For other comics, they're like pissed off that something didn't happen. Like,
oh, yeah.
you know, so...
No, I mean... So when I used to do the tours...
Oh, remember they had to come downstairs. Someone just turned all the lights on.
There's the haunted beer guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to freak him out? I bet you we could scare him.
Sure. Should I moan? Ah!
That's a moan? What's the matter with you?
I'm trying to think of like how a ghost woman would
That's your
feel.
ghost noise?
You do your ghost noise.
Oh! It's kind of like Dracula. Just kidding.
Oh,
Hey, how are you?
Do you mind shutting off the lights when you leave?
I don't mind, but I might have to be bringing some cake.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're fine.
I'll shut them off right now.
Okay, cool.
Thanks,
Thank you.
man. Sweet ponytail.
Where are we? Help me!
He's like, I don't give a shit about your guys'. Little make-em-ups, all right? Some of us have work to do. It's Friday. It's 5 o'clock. This guy probably started at 6 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
He's got 2 more stops to do.
We're like, boo, it's spooky down here. And he's like, let me know when your kids are
Get the fuck
done.
out of here, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So when I used to do the tours,
Yeah.
like, it's creepy, you know. So we were under the Merchant Hotel, which has a good backstory.
Yeah.
A bad reputation. It was like one of those hotels where you could go like that seedy nightlife kind of thing. Like there was drugs and there was prostitutes and there was whatever, you know, sex workers. And the basement was where they would have like gambling and opium dens and all this stuff. And all this stuff supposedly happened there. And it was spooky. I mean, just like here, like it's creepy. It's old.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely like bad shit that's gone down or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, like some of the tours were a lot of fun. Some of the tour, and we would go into all kinds of different places, like the Benson, you know, like all these places in Portland that have reputations for having paranormal activity, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't buy into it. I still tried to have fun with the tours because it was my job.
Yeah.
And, you know, we basically worked for tips.
Wait. I want to know more about those tours, and I'm going to actually ask you a lot of questions about them.
Cool.
But I want to finish telling the stories of the tunnels while we're here, and then let's get into them, because I'm curious to hear, like, some of the ridiculous shit that you've heard, which is probably the most fun. Mm-hmm. And then other, like, stories about your tours on there, because I've looked into the Benson, too. That is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Oh, we were talking about Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
So the Northwest Paranormal Investigations is surely not the only group to name the Shanghai Tunnels the most haunted place in Oregon. In fact, since I've started the show, if I had $1 for every time someone asked me if I've done the Shanghai Tunnels yet, I wouldn't be as desperate as I am for sponsors. Seriously, please sponsor this show.
Good.
Anyone. It just doesn't matter. One ghost in the tunnels has been mentioned in a previous episode. If you've heard the episode from season 1 in Old Town Pizza with James Barella, you'll remember the story of Nina. Some have claimed to smell Nina's perfume or to feel Nina's tug on their clothing in the Shanghai Tunnels. Some have even claimed to see her apparition down here. Those who have described seeing her apparition in these tunnels do not describe her as being see-through or having a ghostly mist around her, but as being a solid figure that they feel they could reach out and touch, who then slowly disappears. You're just, like, so dumb.
So Nina she was, like, the Old Town Pizza is in the Merchant Hotel.
Yeah.
So it's the same building.
It is?
Just,
okay.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I've only thought of it as, like, separate.
Yeah. No. That used to all be one big hotel.
Yeah, okay.
So Hobos and Old Town Pizza and where Portland Walking Tours, and there's another, so it's into like 4 pieces now. Mm-hmm. That was all one building. So it's all the same basement, all the same ghost story. It all comes from the same place.
Yeah. And we sat in that room where Nina was supposed to have been found or whatever.
Yeah.
There are other reports of moans, talking from unseen visitors, which is probably like what that guy's experienced when he came down here, screaming or crying heard in this underground labyrinth. There have been reports of strange lights or heavy footsteps. Also us right now.
It's a lot of heavy footsteps.
Yeah, there are upstairs for sure. There are many stories of people being touched or feeling someone brushing past them. Most unsettling... Oh, wait, you were feeling like someone was touching you.
I know, it was my microphone cord.
Oh, it was? Okay. I was like, oh my God, that happened.
Oh my God! Totally unexplainable.
Most unsettling, multiple people have experienced a vision of an apparition standing very close and staring angrily directly at them. That was that guy.
You mad, bro? Why are you mad?
One report included a story from a visitor who heard anxious whispers from the corner of a storage room asking where they were and how to get out. Some have heard whistles of old tunes echoing through the halls here, but when they try to follow the whistling sounds, they come to a dead end and find nobody there. You're gonna love this. When the Ghost Adventures team came to visit the tunnels, they described a presence of a young boy named Joshua, who they believed was a 9-year-old orphan who had been hired on to empty the chamber pots and buckets in the cells that ran along the tunnels. That sucks.
Not a great job.
No. Some say they have seen Joshua's spirit and have even felt him hold their hand. Of course, it's believed that many of these sounds... Wait, hang on. I want to go back to that really quick, because I only found that from Ghost Adventures. I didn't find any other thing...
They made up their own backstory.
Yeah, I didn't find any other thing that said anything about Joshua.
If you watch that show, that's like all they do. They're like, oh, well, you know what? I bet you this kid, you know, and they just like come up with a story.
Really?
And you're like, but there's no... I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff in here, like... we found all these shoes because they would take the men's shoes, and it was like,
Yeah.
well,
Or
what
someone
the
just
fuck? I
stored
can still
shoes
run
there.
away if I don't have shoes on, especially in
You're like,
1890s.
How am I supposed to...
Yeah, like, oh, I'm fucked now. Like,
Yeah.
no, just what? They're just old shoes.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, exactly. Like a lot of jumping to... And I thought that was, really weird that only came up from the Ghost Adventures. I didn't
And they
see
talk
anything
about
else
like,
about Joshua.
so like the sex trafficking where they would keep these women in cages and break them, so, you know, like break their spirit so that they'd have to do it. And it's like, probably not. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, you probably just feed them.
Yeah.
Or give them money, you know?
Yeah. And they're like, all right, this is how I live now.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any other options, like,
Yeah.
it's either that or, like, end up in the river. Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand, like, I just don't understand, like, what would make people think, like, this is what you would have to do to, like, get people to do this stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, everyone was poor.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't any other options. If you
Right.
wanted to eat, you had to work on the boat or you had to fucking do whatever you had to do. Like, it's
Right.
not that different from right now,
No.
you know?
No. Yeah.
It's just like, oh, well, if someone's gonna, you know, like, to get people to do this stuff, you'd have to, like, take their shoes and keep them in cages and poke them with hot sticks and whatever. And you're like, what? No, like, that's not how coercion works. Like, you just make people do stuff because you're in charge. Like,
yeah, you're just the guy. Yeah. And they're like, okay. Yeah. So, of course, it's believed that many of these sounds are coming from the spirits of the unsuspecting chosen sailors who served years and possibly the ends of their lives in these tunnels. The sounds of the moaning and the footprints.
Yeah.
Many of the men who fell into these tunnels died here from starvation, thirst, or neglect. Someone on YouTube claimed to have caught videos of, or multiple people have claimed to have caught videos of ghosts and orbs in the tunnels. You can view these videos and judge for yourself, or if you're in Portland, you can check out a handful of paranormal walking tours and have the opportunity to explore the Shanghai Tunnels yourself. Is that still true?
Yeah.
You can still do the walking tours down in the Portland
Yeah, well,
Shanghai
and they'll
Tunnels?
take you into basically where you are right now.
Yeah, okay.
They'll take you in a different basement than this basement.
Yeah, I've been to the walking tours. I just didn't know if they were still doing them.
Oh, yeah.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see then they have like cots and stuff down there, and yeah, we'll get into it. It seems so many people who visit here feel a presence or at least a strange and ominous feeling when they walk through these tunnels. Whether it's haunted by ghosts or just painful memories is hard to say, but it certainly is an interesting story and a great place to visit when you're in Portland, Oregon. So I was going to say, so Jeremiah, what insights do you have from having previously run through these tunnels, the tours through these tunnels, and did you have any experiences when you're down here or any of your tours? And have you heard stories from other people about the tunnels, whether you believe them or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard lots of stories. There's lots of stories. As far as, like, on our tours, I don't recall anybody ever having, like, any kind of experience. We had some fun tours. It was, I don't know. The thing I didn't like about the tours was that there was always, like, one, like, couple, and the lady really wanted to be there, and the guy, like, rolled his eyes at everything I said.
Yeah.
And it kind of took some of the fun out of it. Like, the best tours were, like little kids were great because you could tell them anything and they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, there was a time we did, like, it was like, I don't know, I think it was like an 8th grade celebration or something. So it was like a bunch of 13-year-old kids, and it was like, this is going to suck. And then they actually loved all of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I never had any experiences. I've had experiences like just being in, like, that Merchant Hotel by yourself at night, where it's creepy, where you're like, okay, like, this is definitely, like, not that fun, but also, like, I'm not, like, I've never seen anything in there.
Yeah.
I've never had Nina come approach me. I've never smelled her butthole or perfume or whatever. You know, they say she likes to fart in there or whatever. Like,
that was definitely Nina.
That was
I know Nina when I smell her.
every time.
Oh my God, that reminds me.
Stealing the pizza.
My little sister, when she was really young, like she was like 6, for some reason thought that she could tell who farted by the smell. So there were like 4 of us siblings, and we'd all be like driving in the car up north or something, and she'd just like, she all of a sudden be like, Rob. She would just decide by the smell, like, oh no, I know that's distinctly the aroma that
That's a
Rob
skill.
has.
Yeah, that's like a carnival trick. Good for her.
It was so funny when she would just, and you'd be like, I really didn't fart. Like, I would tell you if I did. And she'd be like, oh no.
You don't have to tell me. I already know.
Exactly.
Your words betray you.
Your scent betrays you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry. So that
that's
reminded
funny.
me of her.
Yeah.
Just, no, that's Nina if I've
Nina,
ever
yeah.
smelled it.
I don't know. And it was fun. So, like, I guess I'm a skeptic, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Like I said, I believe in a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's aliens.
Yeah.
I think there's all kinds of stuff, and I think there's definitely, when people die, weird things happen.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, spirits that, like, are stuck in a basement and have to wander around down here and bug the beer guy,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me. And, like, the Shanghai Tunnel thing, here's the problems, right? Like, first of all, the term didn't really show up in our, like, lexicon, especially in Portland, until, like, the early 70s, where people were, like, writing basically, like, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And so, like, the term Shanghai is for people who get stolen and taken to China. Well, we didn't trade with China. We traded with France. That's why it's called crimping, right? So like that's what that term actually was used, and there was people who did actually get like stolen from here, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit of what I looked into. That it was done in like London and
and so it definitely happened here, and it happened in Seattle and Astoria, and because they needed like the economy depended on it, right?
Yeah.
They needed dudes like you don't want to work on a boat. I don't want to work on a boat. Doesn't sound like that much fun.
Yeah.
So because the economy depended on it, it wasn't like really that underground of a of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the police would just arrest people and put them on boats and let blood money. Then they would take that money, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the easiest way to do it was like boarding houses would show up. Like you see some kid walking down the street and say, hey, you know, like you need a place to stay. Do you need food? Do you need beer? Come on in here. But you'll pay me back or whatever once you're on your feet. And the kid's like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, like you get caught up in the moment. You sign the thing that you probably don't even know how to read. And that thing says like, oh, you're just basically signed yourself into indentured servitude.
Oh, man.
And then you're like, go ahead. What are you going to do? Call the cops? Like there's nothing.
And they're involved too. So
and so they just walk you down to the water.
Oh my God.
And put you on the boat, you know, like
goodbye.
Yeah. Like the economy depended on it. The city depended on it. So like the trapdoors and like secret like tunnels and all this stuff, like it wasn't really necessary.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a thing that really happened. Like I know that there are trapdoors, which who knows when that was installed.
Yeah.
And I know that there are like tunnels and stuff down here, but the idea that every business in Portland built a tunnel under its business for the process, like for the purpose of stealing young men to put on boats is one of the craziest. Like say that out loud and tell me that makes sense.
The reason I found for it was that they were trying to get resources from
it was like
between
goods.
businesses. Yeah.
Right. So when all the streets were muddy, the boats would come in and
it's like I don't want it shining right in my face.
No, I hear you. When the boats would come in, they couldn't just load everything. Well, they didn't have trucks. They didn't have like even really like horse carriages or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And also the Willamette River would fluctuate a lot. So there was times where they couldn't. So they built all these basements and connected them underneath. And they would bring stuff in and then basically just move it from one place to the next. Like, oh, here's your stuff, drop it off. Here's your stuff, drop it off.
It's just more of an efficient way to stay in business, really.
The problem, like part of the problems with that was when the river rose and flooded all this, like there was just standing water down here for a long, long time.
Yeah.
There's pictures of like this whole part of town being underwater.
Oh my God.
And like, and people would use boats and whatever, and like people would like make floating saloons and whatever. There was a lot of like ingenuity and like entrepreneurship in old Portland. Like there's stories about like you were talking about the chamber pots and stuff. Reminded me of I can't remember the name of it now, but like basically the oldest bar in Portland had like it had some of the best stories where they basically built a trough along the bar so that you wouldn't lose your seat. You could just pee and it would go like out into the dirt road, like into the muddy streets.
Oh my God.
And that was like the first bar in Portland to have like dancing women. And they literally built like an electric fence around the dancing women to keep the men away.
Oh my God.
Which is a funny idea. So it was like a lot of that. But like I said, just the idea that like, oh, we built all these like tunnels under the city so that we could steal these young men and put them on boats. Like this doesn't make that much sense. And like, oh, like men would get like, I'm telling you right now, if all these tunnels were still under here and you left me down here for 24 hours, I could find my way to the river. Yeah. Like you would figure it out.
If the cement wasn't
right. You would figure it out. Like to say like men wandered down here for years and died of starvation. Like, well, once I got to the next basement, I could go up the stairs into the building, right?
And just be like, hey, sorry, I was kind of lost.
Like, at the worst case scenario, you would get to the river.
Yeah.
And then you would be in the river. Like, it doesn't, like, just that idea, like, men wandered down here for ages and they would starve or like die of thirst or whatever. And it's like, I'm still in somebody's basement.
Yeah.
Like, there's floorboards above me.
Yeah.
All I have to do is get to the stairs and go up them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all that stuff, like, it's so sensationalized.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And there's a lot of, like, you know, like, Portland, of course, wants to have, like, identities like this. And it is cool, and it is funny, and there's a bunch of, like, downstairs creepy stuff, like the, down in Kel's Irish Pub, there was, like, a fire in there at one point. And there's just all these stories. And the stories are fun, you know, and, like, on the tours, we carry around like the EMF meters and stuff,
God,
right?
I don't believe in those at all.
Yeah,
but
you know where they would go off was
didn't.
this like parking lot, and they were like, "Oh, this was some sort of native burial ground," is what we would tell people. There's a high tension power line above you.
Yeah,
like that's literally what's making it go off every time, and they're like, people are just like, "Ooh, getting a lot over here."
Oh my God, I know. I've done the Shanghai Tunnels tour.
So silly.
And I've done the Portland walking tour. Actually, every single time, because my whole issue with the EMF things is that you don't know what you're measuring.
Right.
Like, so it's not scientific at all. It's just
electromagnetic frequency. That's it.
You don't know.
That could be anything.
That could literally be anything. It could have something to do with where the core of the Earth is from where you are, and there's all kinds of little. But it was funny watching people like trying to like make their thing go off and like holding it up like it's a fucking cell phone. You're trying to get service, like.
The best part about those was when the summer that I was doing the tours was when Pokemon Go started. And so everybody like thought that we were playing Pokemon Go because people were walking around looking at these things, and people just assumed they were cell phones.
Like, there's a Squirtle over there, you guys.
Yeah, so like everyone, so there was all these people doing the exact same thing we were, but they were actually playing Pokemon Go, and we were looking for ghosts. So it was just like the weirdest part of the summer when that game like blew up, and for weeks it was just where it was like, oh my God, is that another ghost tour? And it's like, oh no. They're playing Pokemon
No, they found
Go.
a Magikarp. That's
yeah. There's another gym over there, whatever it was.
I
never played it.
Yeah. So I was curious to know, because I'm sure I know how people just are in general, and I'm sure you had to have some people on those walks that were just over the top, like.
Oh yeah.
That's what I need to know about. That's what I want to hear about.
My favorite was like cell phone pictures. People taking cell phone pictures in like, cause there's like
dust in it, and they're like, I got orbs in mine.
Every goddamn time. And there was this kind of like alcove, just brick, just like this.
Yeah.
Little alcove where you turn around, and then it was like the metal grates on the sidewalk were above that. So people would step on that and it would be loud and people would freak out every time. But then, dust would fall and people with their cell phones like, oh my God, look at this. It's a face. And you're like, that's literally dirt that's falling from the ceiling. Like, people, and we would just turn out all the lights and we would sit down there, and then like sometimes we would run 2 tours at the same time that would go in like opposite directions and meet back at the same place. And then as soon as the other tour came back, everyone would be like, oh my God, there's people upstairs. What's going on? And it's like, yeah, it's the same people. They're eating the same donuts you are. Those people
saw
like
them.
but yeah, my favorite was definitely the cell phone camera people. Like sometimes I would go on tours with people where it was just like 1 or 2 people, which was cool, like that knew each other and are like really into it. I've had people bring their own EMF meters.
Oh my God.
I've had people bring their own whatever the recording device.
Ghost boxes or whatever they're called.
Yeah. People who bring their own stuff, and you're just like, holy shit, people.
Yeah. They're just
like, do you hear that? I was like, yeah, you're in a basement. You're in someone's basement. I don't know. I mean, I've never been that scared of a basement, I
Yeah.
guess. But like the whole idea that it's all just counter like intuitive to me. Like
Yeah.
none of that stuff makes very much sense.
Did any of your guests on the tour stand out in your memory as like, oh God, like anyone that you came home to Julia and you were like, I gotta tell you about this lady that came like.
No, not off the top of my head. Like those two like ladies who had gone to a bunch of other places. Like literally, like this was on their list of like places to go see, and they'd been to like Savannah and like
nice.
all
I wanna
these
go there.
places in the South that like probably really are haunted. Like I believe, I believe if you go to like the battlefield of Gettysburg, like sure you'll probably see something bad there. Like I believe those places are haunted, I guess. But you know, and they'd done a bunch of that stuff, so like seeing them show up with their own equipment. Was fun. Like I said, the group of like 13-year-old kids was fun because they were like, at first they were like, this is dumb, why are we here? And then like once they get into it, they're like, is this really where people got shanghaied? And you're like, yeah it is. And they're like, oh my God. And then like like I said, there was that little like alcove, and I got almost all of them in there, and then just by the best timing ever, someone stepped on that grate on the sidewalk above it, and it made a loud noise, and it was like ear piercing. This like 13-year-old girl like in stereo scream. It was like the Scooby-Doo where they all like try to get out at the same time, and they were like running, like falling over each other.
Right.
That was hilarious. Yeah, I can't think of anybody who was like super annoying. Most people were like good spirited about it. Though, like I said, the thing that I always hated was like there was always like some dude that was like, "This is dumb, babe. Why are we here?"
Yeah.
And it was just like, dude, if you like, you have to get some like
It's like you agreed
buy-in.
to do it, so
Right,
just
like
fucking
people have to
go
buy
along with it.
in, or
Right.
you know, it's not going to be that fun.
You
that
can
much
leave
fun.
and then be like, that was fucking stupid. Like, fine,
Yeah,
but you don't have to
sure.
ruin it for everyone while you're there.
Exactly.
You know?
So there was a lot of that, but I mean, it was fun. It was good exercise.
Yeah.
There was a lot of free donuts.
Well,
My favorite part was like getting people voodoo
about balance.
donuts. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
So that's part of like the thing is people get voodoo donuts on the tour, but they don't know that. It's like a big secret. Sorry if you're gonna do the tour. But like, so that was the thing is like there was always a line around the block, and we would walk down like between like the Dan and Lois's oyster bar right there, and you'd come out and you'd be right there by the donut shop, and people would be like, "Oh, ooh, voodoo donuts," and I'd be like, "Hey, hold on just a second." Then you'd go inside, and they'd just hand you a box of donuts, and all these people in line were like, "What the fuck?" And then all the people on the tour would be like, "How did you do that?"
like, I know a guy.
Yeah, and you'd play it off, and you'd be like, "Oh, trust me." Like, so the trick was, what I would say was, "Oh, I spend enough of my tips from this tour in there that they know me pretty well."
Yeah.
And then that puts it in their head like, "Oh, we're supposed to tip this guy."
Ah,
So it was like a
genius.
good little like plant the seed.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't like, you weren't supposed to ask for tips, but
Yeah.
and some people did and some people didn't, you know. And sometimes you'd be like, "Dude, this tour sucked. There's no way we're getting shit." And then people would give you like $20 bills, and you're like,
What?
"Okay, this is awesome."
Wow.
Yeah, so the tips were definitely like worth it. And then sometimes you'd be like, you would work your ass off for these people, and then it was like, oh, one person gives you $1
Yeah.
out of like 27 people on a
Yeah,
tour, and you're like,
yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Right.
So the story of actually how I got fired from that job is pretty funny. So like the owner of the company came on my tour, and I was so confident in myself. This is the best part. Is that like I had this hubris about like I'm the best tour guide. People have the most fun on my tour.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of good reviews. People loved me. And so I was like, you know, come on my tour, because he was standing there. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go on one of. There was like 3 of us that started at the same time that night. He's like, I'm gonna go on somebody's tour. Who wants it? And I was like, go on my tour. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so I had learned from just like being around that, like we had like certain procedures that we were supposed to follow. Like when you go into the Benson, you go to the front desk and you check in and you say, "Hi, I'm here with the walking tours, blah, blah, blah. We're
Right.
going to look around." And they'd say, "Cool, no problem. We had a contract," or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, like that's what you're supposed to do. But you know, like when you get a new job and then they like there's what you do in the handbook,
right?
And then there's what everybody actually does.
Yeah.
And no one was checking in at the front desk of the Benson, right? Like no one was doing that.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And like we were only supposed to go into like this little part above the lobby and hang out, and then kind of go like down onto the stairs if we wanted to. Well, I was taking people down into the basement, and there's like a secret wine cellar, like where it looks like a wall, and you open it up, and it's like a wine cellar.
Cool.
Yeah, and I was like showing people that, and the owner was like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that." And I was like, "What? This is awesome! Like, I'm the best tour guy!" Like, and he's like, do we have like a contract? Like we can't do this kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I was like, all right. Like
did
we
he
had
say
this.
that during the tour? Or did
No. He played it cool. Like he was like he was loving every minute of it. And I think like I might have said like shit at one point too. Which on the night on the so there was a tour at 7 and a tour at 10. And on the 7 o'clock tour was supposed to be family friendly, and this tour at 10 was like you could say whatever the fuck you wanted. Yeah. As long as you within bounds, Yeah. And it was a 7 o'clock tour, and I think I said shit, and so he was upset about that. And so it was like we're just like hanging out after, and he was like, I was like all proud of myself, and then he's like,
you're like, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, he's like, I gotta ask you, man, like, what the fuck was that? Like, what were you doing? And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, all the stuff you did in the Benson was like opposite of procedure, like all of this stuff, like all of these things you were doing.
You like that?
Yeah, like
you're just all.
I'm just out here freestyling, and he was like, yeah, like you can't do any of that. So I was like, all right, you know what? Like I don't even want to do these stupid ghost tours anymore. Like so, there was another tour that was like, so that was the underground tour. Even though you didn't like, so it was supposed to be like the, so one was Haunted Portland, and then the other one was Underground Tour. Oh, okay, and the Underground Tour like kind of took you into some places that showed you where tunnels used to be, and like took you down to the waterfront, and they like talked about that old bar quite a bit. Yeah. Anyway, and so I had been like rehearsing and like getting ready to do that other tour, and he was like, "All right, if you don't want to do the ghost tours, we'll put you on this tour." So your like audition for that tour is going to be like the next day or whatever. And I didn't really have like the information down very good. And I also was like just going through some personal stuff. And so I like kind of bombed my audition. So then I showed up from my next ghost tour, and they were like, yeah, you remember how you said you didn't want to fucking do this? Well, we don't really want you to do it if you don't want to do it. And we don't want you to do the other tour because you bombed your audition. You didn't know any of the things you were supposed to know. So let's just call it a day. Like they were, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even consider like getting fired. Yeah. Like they were just like, you don't really want to do this. We don't really want you to do it if you don't want to do it. Like,
also, you just like broke all the rules.
Well, yeah, they totally could have. Like they could have just fired me, but they just like they gave me a check and were like, like let's. And I'm still friends with those people. Like they're still cool with me. I'm still cool with them. Like they've come to see my comedy and stuff like that. So, because I actually do a joke about getting fired from the Portland Walking Tours, where I'm like, I got fired for being too creative, and like that always gets a laugh. And then they're like, we just think you're taking too many liberties with the material. And I'm like, it's a fucking ghost tour, man. The whole thing's made up. Yeah. And like that always gets a laugh. And like I've done that with that person in this comedy club that we're in right now. I've done that joke with the owner of that company here. And he was like, I'm just glad he didn't bring me up on stage or anything.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, they're still cool. We're still cool. But it was definitely like, like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
we don't
creative
want you to do
differences.
It. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it was fun while it lasted. Like I said, it was good exercise. A lot of free donuts because people could never eat all the donuts. It'd be like 7 people and you get a dozen donuts. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want any more of these donuts. Yeah. It was fun. It was fun. And I guess that kind of like also like led me to be like the person who's like, I'm going to refute all of these things that like, because there's like what you tell the customers on the tour and then like what they tell you. And, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that, like cold readings and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Where it's like, give me a break.
Right.
You know, like people want to see what they want to see.
Right.
People want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Like I totally believe in that.
Yeah.
But you know, like I have the same like research that anybody else has.
Right.
But just I mean, at the same time, right? Like we know Mike Jones, right? Have you guys talked about Mike Jones at all?
Not on the show, no.
Okay. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Mike Jones, he runs the Shanghai walking tours, right?
Yeah. Well, not Portland walking tours. He's
Tunnels.
the Northwest Paranormal or whatever guy out of the Hobo.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like and I think he does the ones they do in here now too. Because I've seen him. I was doing a show and he walked through and like no one acknowledged it and I was like, did everyone just see that dude walk out of that basement? Like, no one's going to bring it up. But, I mean, he makes a living.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I could tell a story.
Right.
And, like, basically create a whole world and, like, get people to, like, pay my bills to do it.
Right.
Like, I don't have a problem with that. Like, that seems pretty smart.
So, I think the thing is about the Shanghai Tunnels, and I almost... The way I'm seeing it is that Shanghaiing was a real thing.
Yes.
There were connected tunnels beneath the city in Portland. And, but those two things did not necessarily come together. They both were happening, but it's not necessarily what these tunnels were used for.
Right.
So
it's like an easy conclusion to jump to.
Right.
If you have both those pieces of information.
Right.
Like, oh, there's tunnels and there's people who are getting stolen. I bet you they were shanghaied through the tunnels. And it's like, well,
I mean,
not really.
Some of the parts of the tunnels were used as like opium dens and like bordellos and stuff. And you could see if a man came into that, if they were kind of like, oh, we're going to get this guy high, we're going to convince him to do this and that. And that's how he was shanghaied. Sure. So I think it's possible that obviously shady stuff happened in these tunnels.
Agreed.
But yeah, I agree with you that I think it's been really overly sensationalized. Even going through that tour, you kind of are like, feels like we're really stretching a lot here. And I think that's a lot of
it's like the
haunted
shoe
tours.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think that's a lot of the haunted tours. And that's why I felt so bad for so many people that were like, have you done the Shanghai Tunnels yet? Have you done the Shanghai Tunnels yet?
Right.
And there's always that one. My one in Grand Rapids, the one everyone was like, oh, are you going to do Hell's Bridge? You're going to do Hell's Bridge? That was a big one. Yeah. And when I looked into the story of it, same thing. Very sensationalized story. This guy was apparently... the story itself is just like, this is absurd. But basically, someone was killing kids or something, and they were like, all right, well, all of us parents are going to go on this, like, monster hunt. We're all going to look for this fucker. And so they're like, well, let's leave all our kids with this trustworthy, sweet old man that we all trust. Let's give all our kids to him, and then we'll all leave. And then apparently that guy was like, oops, that's the guy.
He was the guy. Oh, my God, what a twist.
Can you believe it? Ay, ay, ay. So then it was supposed to be that he took all these kids down, like tied them up with a rope and like kind of just walked them all down to the middle of the forest and like killed them all. And like they're all supposed to be at Hell's Bridge. And he was like a Satan worshiper or some shit. So I do the whole story in Hell's Bridge. And then I was like, so I looked into this. This guy never existed. This didn't happen. But, hey, this is woven into the culture of this town. Like,
it's an urban legend,
It's an urban legend. This is what has kept people up at sleepovers and bonfires and stuff. And so, and it's so funny that it's like, to this day, everyone in Grand Rapids was like, you got to do Hell's Bridge. Yeah. And everyone here is like, you got to do the Shanghai Tunnels. Yeah. And it's always that overly sensationalized story that it's like, yeah, this didn't happen. Right. But then you have other stories where you're like, yeah, this is a true crime. Like, this person was murdered here, and this is what people say happened.
So, and that's the cool thing about, like, learning the history of what was actually happening. Like, the stories of the real stuff are usually a lot funnier, which is why I like them. And just, like...
more interesting.
A lot more interesting. So, the things that were happening, like, there were times where... And I remember all the details anymore. Remember, I bombed my audition.
Yeah. I made this up, but
Where, well, that was the thing about the ghost tours is you could make most of the
they were like, just make it sound good.
Yeah, you could make that stuff up, but then the other tour was like actual history.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't memorize as much of it as I should, but there was a guy, and I don't remember his name, but he was like kind of the famous like crimper around here.
Okay.
And he would do a lot of like wacky stuff. Like at one point, he stole like a 6-foot-tall cigar store Indian like to a boat, like had him wrapped in a blanket and was like, he's drunk and sleeping, don't wake him up. And, like got the money and left, and then like they were already out like to Astoria, and we're like, son of a bitch. Like we thought this was gonna be like
again.
There was one point where like all these people got there was like a sign up sheet at the Merchant Hotel, like, hey, I just got this new boat, do you want to check it out? And they got all these people to sign up on this boat, and then it was like, oh yeah, you basically just agreed, like they took the boat to Astoria, and then we're like,
oh my god,
pulled guns on them. We're like, okay, well, go get on that boat because you work there now. There was another one where I think
sure, I'll look at a boat.
I think a bunch of people got sick, like really sick. Like they were, maybe that's what it was there was a tavern and an undertaker right next to each other.
Oh.
And these dudes drank a bunch of embalming fluid and were like really, really sick. And the cops or somebody found them and were like, these dudes are going to die. So they rushed him to the waterfront and like sold him onto a boat, and then
oh my god,
like they didn't even make it out to Astoria before like 6 of the 8 guys actually died on the boat.
Oh my god,
but they were like, we got that money, dog.
Really well preserved. They were just
right.
in pristine condition for a long time.
This like, I mean, stuff like that is interesting to me and is funny.
Totally. I find those things more fascinating than sensationalized fake stories with holes in them.
Yeah, like you said, there was a lot of like ingenuity, there was a lot of entrepreneurship, there was a lot of like like people who made floating bars like out in the Willamette because the cops wouldn't go out there, and all kinds of different stuff that people did to make a buck and to like circumvent like local rules and laws and that kind of stuff. I mean, not that there were a lot back then, and I mean this was like a Wild West town, I mean, there was a lot of wacky stuff, and the fact that all of this stuff is still here. Yeah. Like all these basements are still here. I mean, like San Francisco, like they don't have basements because of the earthquakes. Yeah. Like the fact that it's all preserved. The other thing is like all this stuff is like less than 200 years ago. Right. Which is also crazy, like historically, right? Where it's like, think about even the East Coast, like historically, like when I was out there and they're like, oh, this is our township's like 400th birthday. And you're like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, Portland doesn't even have any of that. So it's like all new. And that's part of like the selling point for people that are like, oh, like all these spirits are fresh because, like this town's only 150 years old or whatever, Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if it matters how fresh ghosts are. No. Like I said, like I'd be more freaked out if I went to like some of those places in the South where like actual bad shit happened. Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of cool being in these basements and looking at all the exposed brick, like little archways, and just trying to picture yourself going back 200 years and seeing like people just hanging out, like kind of dressed differently and like smoking opium and like banging in other corners and stuff, and just it's kind of cool. That to me makes me feel, I almost get like goosebumps thinking about it, not in like a ooh kind of way, but in like a this is a cool historic place that we're sitting in kind of way,
Like, let's do some opium and bang. Like,
well, and actually what I brought, just kidding.
I do happen to have some opium
I brought a little bit of my opium if you wanted to. We just thought we could, it's what, like late afternoon. I thought maybe we could just, yeah, so let's bring down the horse.
Right.
This is our...
This is how we do it here
to actually, like, and they're all drinking and they're all, like, breaking the law. They're all kind of like the bad boys. And it's kind of cool to think about that. And in that way, there are spirits here. Sure. Historically speaking. And
well, in this
to me,
part
that's
of town,
fascinating. Mm-hmm.
Would have been a blast. Like, I mean, it still is pretty fun, but like the merchant and this and like all of the stuff that was going on, like it would have been pretty badass if you had like done it and not gotten kidnapped for sure. It would have been super fun.
But I guess even that element of danger kind of adds to the excitement.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So I guess, you know, I feel like I have to probably have some listeners that are kind of like, shit about this episode. You know what I mean? Sorry. But that's the thing, and like that's a big thing for me is like I don't want to bullshit anybody. I want to just be like, hey, this is the truth. This is what I find fascinating. And I did it. All right, we did it. We're in the Shanghai Tunnels.
It's definitely creepy down here.
It is creepy. Yeah, it is. I love the history in it, though. That's what I like. I love that you can. It's very easy to picture all this stuff happening when you can still see all the archways and be in the dark and kind of imagine it kind of lit by candlelight and like. Mm-hmm. I think it would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm scared.
I want to go.
We didn't light the incense.
I mean, I've never, you know, I don't know. I've never really had like a ghost experience, which is probably. I did have one time when I was like 20 years old. I used to work in an ice arena. And I figured out how to like plug my music in, so my music would play through the whole building, which was really awesome. Mm-hmm. And I was upstairs like changing ceiling tiles in this bathroom, and I was the only person in the whole building because I worked from midnight to 8 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I was like the graveyard guy, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was stoned probably, and I was up here changing ceiling tiles. And then the music in the building went like so loud that I like had to cover my ears, and then went like so quiet that I couldn't even hear it, and then just went back to normal. And like every hair on my body stood up, and I just ran like for a little while. Like I went outside, like I ran outside and just like ran away, and then was like, all right, that was weird. And that's like the only thing that's.
What'd you do after that? Did you just go? All right, go back in.
Yeah, I just went downstairs and like figured out that the CD player probably like freaked out or whatever. But
and it never happened again.
Never happened again. There was definitely like that was a building that people had stories about.
Interesting.
Where like radios would turn on or whatever, you know. So I don't know. Maybe that was my paranormal experience, but I just. That's like the only thing I can think of that's like that's ever happened to me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It seems like you are more on the fence about the paranormal. It seems like you don't fully, completely disbelieve in all of it.
No, I mean, like I said, I believe in a lot of stuff. Like I try not to be too
enthusiastic
about any, about it either way, right? Where it's just like I don't know. Right. So, I guess I'm like agnostic when it comes to ghosts.
I can respect that. I think I believe in them because I have had experiences and I've actually seen one. And I think just if I hadn't had that, I probably would be the same way, that I'd be like, I don't know, maybe this happened, but it could have been anything. But when you actually like see someone, then it's like, that shit that happens. But I also think there's a lot of stuff that's overly sensationalized. And honestly, as someone who is curious about the paranormal and has always enjoyed TV shows and stories about ghosts and the paranormal, I find it insulting to like make up a story and try to sell it as like, oh my God, Joshua is a little boy that was down. Like, to me, I'm just like...
spilling over chamber pots and stomping in the poo.
You're like, what? Ooh, do you smell that piss river?
Yeah.
That's when you know Joshua's nearby.
He was around. We thought it was a Nina fart, but it was Joshua.
Oh, no, that's a Joshua. That's the piss river. No, but like, for me, I find it insulting as a viewer, like a consumer, I guess, of that kind of stuff. And then that's why I wanted to make a show that doesn't do that. It's like, this is all the truth. And if you hear something happen, that's real. And so the stuff that has happened in like season 1, all of it has been fairly subtle stuff that we're like, I don't know what this was, but it was really weird that this happened.
Yeah.
And then make of it what you will, kind of a deal. But yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed exploring the Shanghai Tunnels with Jeremiah and I. Make sure to check out Jeremiah's podcast too. It's called Brine Time, where Jeremiah teams up with local comic Jake Silberman and discusses Portland's baseball team, the Portland Pickles. You can find Jeremiah on Instagram with the handle at Jeremiah Coughlan. That's at JeremiahCoughlan. While you're at it, check us out on social media too. You can find us with the handle at LitDarkPodcast or visit our website at litdarkpodcast.com for show updates and merch. Special thanks for this episode goes to my producer, Randall Lawrence in Cranival Studios, Jonathan Cooper, my graphic designer, Sara Schneider, my manager, and of course, as always, all of you for listening.
Sources used for episode 10 of Laughing in the Dark include Wikipedia, PortlandTunnels.com, HauntedHuddle.com, The New York Times, Destination America, YouTube, AnomAlien.com, the Seeking Ghosts blog, and MostlyGhosts.com.
Laughing in the Dark is brought to you in part by Heck Yeah Studio. Heck Yeah Studio is a creative effort working with people to create meaningful things. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with clients to turn their ideas or existing brands into real or better versions. Heck Yeah Studio is the place to go for custom illustration for a full range of branding services, like killer logos, great colors and typography, and fun illustrations for pins, signs, prints, shirts, vehicles, posters, or anything you can imagine. At Heck Yeah Studio, they work with love. Their dream client is someone who is passionate about what they do. At Laughing in the Dark, Heck Yeah Studio has designed our logo, all of our merch, and any posters or stickers that we have. I am so proud and lucky to work with such an awesome company, and I could not recommend them higher.
Cranival Studios.